Have you ever wondered where the problems in the world today would exist if we had deeper connection to ourselves, others, and the environment and acted from that place? Welcome to the Conscious Action Podcast with your host, Brian Berneman, who believe that connection is the key to taking conscious action as individuals and creating a better world. We are here to raise awareness and inspire meaningful action by sharing stories, knowledge, and conversations with thought leaders and change makers. From sustainability to well-being and everything related to conscious living, our mission is to empower you to be the change that you want to see in the world.
Welcome to a new episode of the Conscious Action Podcast. I am Brian Berneman, your host, and today we are going to dive into the powerful question of why do so many of us wait until we hit rock bottom to finally change? This is something that I have been exploring through years in my own experience and with the thousands of people that I've been teaching or working with. And it's something that I keep on seeing more and more and more. So we're going to dive into this topic. First, I'm going to invite you just to take a deep breath, allowing yourself to create space, to be here, to connect with yourself, and let's go into it. So in my work, whether it is with university students, with energy healing, with coaching, with somatic practices, with mindfulness and meditation practices, with family constellations, I often see people that come to me when they are at a crisis point or that rock bottom, whether they are burnt out, they are overwhelmed, whether they have a deep sense of disconnection. And while these moments of collapse can be beautiful gateways for transformation, what if we don't need to collapse to grow? What if we could choose awareness before urgency? There's a few different reasons culturally in our society why we have this pattern of crisis-driven change, or we wait until we hit rock bottom. We are consciously or unconsciously taught that we need to push through, we need to toughen up, we need to keep on going, we need to ignore all of the signs that we're getting both internally and externally of what needs to change. And we a lot of times glorify speed and we glorify busyness. I have talked about this a lot during the podcast in a lot of conversations with so many amazing people. And this is something that sometimes we need to create changes. We need to unlearn a lot of this. And as well, there's something that for many, because we have seen changes with a lot of people that they share their experiences when they have a wake-up call to create change, an awakening, that for most people comes with a breakdown, with this rock bottom. So therefore, most of us believe that we need to hit that place to be able to create a change. And this is something that, in my view, it keeps us on the place of being reactive instead of proactive. It's not that this is something that is wrong. It's not something that we don't have to explore. It's something that we can honor, and at the same time, we can create a different way. So we can create more preventative awareness. The more that we allow ourselves to connect with our bodies so that we can start to notice early signals. So a lot of times I see a lot of clients that because the little knock on the door that the body has been sending, they didn't pay attention to it, that knock started to become stronger and stronger and louder until that rock bottom where there is no way of ignoring that signal. So preventative awareness and preventative change and personal development comes from the place of noticing that signal as it starts to arise. When we practice mindfulness meditation, we start to notice and observe what's happening without judgment. We just notice. Therefore, we know more. When we understand that we are carrying inherited patterns that come from our ancestors, from our culture, from our life before us, then we know that we are carrying a lot of things, a lot of beliefs, a lot of mechanisms that perhaps don't serve us. So when we start to tune in, this is where we can create a lot of changes, because prevention is not about control, it's about presence, about listening, about honoring those whispers that we get before they become the screams. When we start to pay attention to that little knock at the door, then we start to create change. And when we allow ourselves to know that, when we go into a path, a journey, a process of unlearning, of connecting deeper with ourselves, of preventing things that might happen based on the fact that we usually have patterns of behavior. And because most of the time, if we don't do anything, we can know how we're going to keep on going, then we can go into a journey of healing. And healing, it is not a one-time fix. I have explored this in many episodes. It's an ongoing, integrated process. It is creating a lifestyle that is more conscious so that we can create more change. It's about creating space in daily life for reflection, for connection, for rest, for recalibration. And when we allow ourselves to create those spaces and we create more awareness, we become more conscious, we can invite more ancient wisdom. This is one of the main things that through the years has helped me, understanding how ancient wisdom can fit our modern life and can support us in this path. Living in right relationship with cycles, with energies, with people, with ourselves, creating more balance. We need to understand how we can use different frameworks and different practices, different traditions to support us so that we don't have to hit rock bottom. So I invite you to notice what are some patterns that you're repeating that might lead you to rock bottom. This is without judging. This is just noticing and acknowledging that we all have patterns that do not serve us. And when we do that, we are able to create change. So just noticing whenever you can, creating space to notice what are some patterns that you keep on repeating that can lead you to rock bottom. And where are you called to pause, to stop, or to shift, even if that is uncomfortable? Because most of us, we have been conditioned to not stop and notice. Because when we start to notice, we start to feel, and a lot of times it has been unsafe for us to feel. I know for myself, I was so disconnected from my body, from my feelings, because there was some trauma that I didn't even know, some trauma that was mine, some trauma from my childhood, that made it so that I was repressing all of my feelings. I was repressing all of my experience. And I even thought that I was okay. When I started to practice different methodologies and different disciplines, I actually noticed how stressed I was, how angry I was, and how I was repressing everything. I remember even sometimes that my siblings were joking once anger management movie came out that I was like that character from Adam Sandler, that if I kept on going as I was doing, I was bottling everything up, I was going to explode. And this is something that we, or this is that invitation not to get to that place. So, how do we do that? Well, there's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different mechanisms or practices or methodologies or traditions to explore. Easy things that we can do, or simple things that we might not make it that easy, are creating space for daily check ins. Just noticing and asking yourself the question, how am I really feeling? And just sitting with it, even if it's for 10 seconds, even if it's for 1 minute. How am I really feeling? And of course, just as I did at the beginning, I was telling myself, I'm okay, everything's okay, when it actually wasn't. This just creates space to ask the question. And we need that space. We need to create space because not every single moment in our life needs to be completely full of doing. We can create space to be, to notice. When we also understand that we have blind spots, we don't know everything and we can't see everything, we need support. How that support looks like might be different. We might seek support with friends or family or some guidance of a trusted healer, a coach, a therapist, a teacher. This can look very different for many people. I know that for me, I went out and I found different teachers and different healings through the years, just as for the last 15 years, people have been coming to me for that. And I'm able to support others with the aim, a lot of times, of preventing a lot of things. Another thing that we can create is creating some structure during our days. This can look like, creating some structure in the day with your calendar by creating some rituals during the day or some moments that help you to connect. For me, a lot of times, my food has been what creates the structure during the day. So if I prioritize those moments, then that is a key point during my day to support me to slow down and to create a structure where within that structure I can thrive and I can flow much better. Sometimes if I don't have that structure, I can be a little bit more all over the place without connecting with myself, without creating that space to slow down and to ask myself important questions. So sometimes just creating a structure that works for you, your structure doesn't need to be the same. Some of us might need a really big structure in the day, everything in the calendar, everything planned, whereas some others, that might be too overwhelming, that might actually create more stress. So we need to figure out what works for us. When we understand that taking care of yourself, it's not that there's something that is wrong. It just means that, you're living in alignment with what is right. And at the moment, most of us, we're living out of alignment. So when we create space to create more balance, to align, then we're able to actually be more connected to ourselves. We're able to choose how we're going to be. We're able to prevent that rock bottom. So rock bottom a lot of times doesn't need to be the beginning of your story. If it is, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. If you are listening to this now and you haven't yet hit rock bottom, you can choose conscious action now. You can choose to create change. You can choose something different. Keeping on doing the same thing all of the time will not create that change. So the more that we allow ourselves to prevent things and to become more aware, we're going to prevent so much from happening. I keep on seeing this with so many people. If we don't take preventative measures to support ourselves, to regulate our system, to heal, to connect more deeply, to become more aligned with ourselves, we are going to get that slap in the face where we end up in the hospital, where we are unable to work or provide for our family, where we are unable to care for others and care for ourselves. And sometimes we might not even come back from that rock bottom. So, this is an invitation for you to create that change and that awareness to prevent what can happen. So, if this resonated with you, I invite you to share this episode with someone who might need this because they might be close to that own turning point. So, if they are there and you care about them, perhaps share this or talk to them that there's no need to wait until they get there, until they hit rock bottom. I invite you to create that space for yourself, to go on this journey by choice instead of by force. Again, if that happens, nothing wrong with that. That is where you start. If you are not there yet, make yourself and give yourself the gift of taking care of yourself and your well-being before you get to that place. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. Let me know what resonated. What did you hear? What did you learn? What are you already doing? What has been your experience? Did you hit the rock bottom and then start to change? Were you able to prevent things from happening by working on yourself, by going on a path of growth, of development, of connection with yourself? What have been some of the tools and practices that you have used? I would love to know. As always, leave a comment wherever it is that you find this episode. And thank you for being here. Until the next episode. Bye!
What did you like the most about this episode? Take a moment to think about what change you can make in your life today.
Share your conscious action on social media using #ConsciousAction and tagging @ConsciousActionNZ so we can celebrate your impact on the world and create a ripple effect.
One easy action we would love for you to take right now is to share, like, and subscribe to this podcast. This will help us get these messages out into the world and inspire more people to take conscious action in their own lives, contributing to the better world we hope for.